This is Matthew McConaughey.
Natalie Portman.
James Patterson.
Michael Ian Black.
And you are listening to
Five Questions
with Dan
Schawbel.
Chase, welcome to Five Questions.
Thanks for having me.
Where does your work ethic and ability to adapt to change come from?
Childhood, I learned it from sports, and then I had to work to get a scholarship to Carolina to play football. I had to work to make sure the guys behind me weren't taking my job. So there, I learned it in sports, all the way up to college football. And even now in music, I'm not the most talented guy out there. I'm not the best singer. I'm not the best songwriter, but I got to work and grind to make it happen.
I know I sometimes talk with some of my friends got like 4.0s in college, and I had to work so much harder than they did. They could like study for an hour before the test. And for me, I started studying 3 weeks ahead of time. But hey, if you have good work ethic, you can still pull it off.
And some of the best ever weren't the most talented.
And you've made amazing career transitions. I've talked to a lot of really famous people about the career transitions they've made. I always find it to be really fascinating because, in your case, you got injured, so you couldn't, kind of pursue your football career, but you did transition. So how did you transition from your football career to NASCAR to reality show and then finally country music?
Yeah, it was pretty natural. From football, I got a call from one of my old coaches who was recruiting ex-athletes to join the pit crew to see if they could go faster. So that's how I got that phone call. He was in charge of that program. And then while I was there, I was really, really loving writing songs because I just lost my career and I just lost my dad in the same year back to back. So the writing songs was my outlet. So when I got a text randomly to go on Survivor, they said, "Would you want to go on Survivor?" I said, "Sure, why not?" It was a friend from college. And that was how easy the process was. It was just like, all right, then, and then I put in the interview questions and stuff, but I half-assed that. And for whatever reason, they liked me and wanted me on there. So that happened. And then when I got back from that, I couldn't physically do the NASCAR job. So, and also with that much time on an island remote place to think, I decided, man, I'm really going to go after this music thing. I really love writing songs. It's what I'm passionate about. It's the only thing that really gives me joy at this point in my life. At that point in my life. And so when I got home, I moved straight to Nashville.
Yeah, it seems very organic how your whole story is played out. And who knows what the next transition will be. Maybe you'll fly a plane.
I flew this summer in Hawaii. I'm
there you go.
Some acting roles could be fun. I want to focus on the music, though. The music's the most important thing to me. But Hollywood could be something fun to do, maybe down the road.
Absolutely. And congrats on the new album. Why do you consider your new album, I Hate Cowboys and All Dogs Go to Hell, a career-defining moment for you? And what were some of the challenges of producing it?
I just think there was a point in my life, especially pre-COVID, where I don't think fans really knew who I was. They knew hits and they knew some of the songs, but I don't think I've ever really given them a good view of who I am as a person. And that's what this album is. It's 2 years off and I really reflected a lot. I had a lot of downtime and it's like, man, I'm going to get real. And this is what I want to do from here on out. I'm not playing games anymore, man. I'd rather put out music that I really genuinely care about than chase success anymore. And hopefully that turns into success, but you never know how that goes, but the challenges of writing and recording it were extreme. I wrote them all on acoustic guitar, no tracks. And then the recording, it was the 2 weeks straight in my house, one producer, Oscar Charles. Some of the songs took an entire day to figure out how to do it right. But I had a lot of things in my head of what I wanted to sound like. Oscar as well, being an awesome producer. I've trusted him a lot. And it was really, really huge having him on my side to lean on and make these songs sound different than anything you've heard from me.
Yeah, and you mentioned your dad earlier. You dedicated the album to him. What role did he have in shaping the man you've become? And what would he say now if he was alive?
I mean, the most massive role you can have for me, I think the biggest thing a boy can have is his dad. And mom's is very much as well, but it's a different role. but my dad was there. He was there all the time, and he showed me what it's like to be a great dad one day, hopefully myself. And the number one thing was being there and telling us he loved us. And then fighting for it, like I said, I wasn't always most talented, but he got it in me young to fight for everything and scratch and claw for everything you want in life. If he was here around today, I think he'd be very proud of where I am now. I think he'd know that I was lost the last 10 years. But why wouldn't I be? I was a 22-year-old kid out of college that lost everything all at one time. Anybody's going to be lost at that point, So I think he'd be proud that I fought my way through that and that I'm still fighting. He'd obviously be very disappointed in some things I've done. I look back and I'm like, what the hell was I doing? But I think overall he'd be proud. And he'd be proud. He'd finally hear this record and be like, that's the son I knew could get into music and really find success with it by being himself.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like in terms of your career transitions and everything and all the challenges you've been through, like you keep becoming more of yourself. You're like much more comfortable in who you are. And I think that reflects well in the album.
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot of that is just time in general. The older you get, the more mature you should get. And just practicing and not even practicing, but doing music for 10 years is like, all right, well, now I'm a better singer. I'm a better songwriter. I have a producer now who really, really understands what I've been trying to do for 10 years. Just didn't know how to do it. And all these things came together on this album. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to recreate something like this record that's this good, in my opinion. But we're going to keep going down this road, and it's hopefully only going to get better. But this one right here, man, it's pretty damn. It's going to be tough to beat.
And what's your best piece of career advice?
Don't chase what's popular. Don't chase what's, in the moment that what everybody else is going after. Really, really look into yourself and figure out what brings you to life and what makes you you. And hammer down on that. Even if it's not the most popular thing going, hammer down on what makes you you and what you're great at, because if you're great at it and you're passionate about it, it's gonna punch through.
Yeah, and it's going to resonate. And if you just become a derivative or copy what other people are doing, how are you going to stand out? And anyone else could do it because they are doing it.
Right. And then if you're chasing what they're doing, I did it my whole career. I was chasing what other artists were doing, but they were great at it because that was them. This is the first album I can honestly say I put out where I'm like, no, nobody else could make this record. This is my record. And which is why I think it's that much better.
Well, that's great advice. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, man.